Hi, welcome to the Craft Channel. My name's Corinne and today I've got quite a cute bag project for you. It's a little Japanese style drawstring bag that's made out of 5 squares of fabric. Now this one here I've actually done 5 patchwork squares of fabric, but it's just like a little square box, and then you can gather up the handles and just knot them to make a little bag. So whether you use it as a bento bag, you can use it for Christmas present wrapping as an alternative to a stocking, or you could go large, like this one here that I've made with some really nice Japanese print fabrics. And this is padded and lined, and I've also top stitched it and added leather handles. There's no closure on it, so I would be careful to put a wallet and things, but it's quite a nice handy tote. You can get quite a lot in there. So the way we make it is you need 5 squares of patterned fabric, and these are 16 centimetres square. And I've chosen these quite wintry ones because I like the idea of it being used for Christmas. So lay them out with the directional patterns radiating out from the middle. I'm going to sew them together into cross shape. So bear with me while I do that. So there they are, sewn together in a cross shape. What I did neglect to mention is start and stop 5mm from the end, because what you'll need is that 5mm on the adjacent side to sew the next one. And also, when you come to sew the sides up, if you've not stitched right to the edge, it makes it so much easier. So you can simply line up your adjacent sides. You might as well work on opposite corners while you're bending it diagonally. So I'm going to sew down all 4 sides. Like so. So I can turn my bag inside out. Like so. Now I've made a lining for this bag in exactly the same way, with one small exception, and that is that I've left a gap in the bottom seam here. And the reason I've left a gap is so that I can turn it inside out. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip, turn it outer the right way round again, no, the wrong way round again. And you want to slip your lining inside your outer and line up those seams so that you can sew the 2 things together really cleanly along that top edge, and then turn it out through the hole in the lining and then just top stitch that, and it will be hidden inside. And that's how you would make a simple square basket. I mean, you might want to add some wadding in between the 2 of them to give it some stability. But because I want to make a drawstring in this, I need to add these that the drawstring fits through. And I found the drawstring actually gathers up much nicer. The drawstring actually gathers up much nicer. Much more nice. If the channels actually sit not on the flat edges across a corner. So what I'm going to do now is just pin the middles of each bag, or the middles of each side, just to hold the bag together. And then I've got some channels that I've made here, and these are pieces of fabric that are, I think, 16 centimetres by 4 centimetres. And what I've done with each one is I've just folded over about 5mm, 7mm on each end and glued it before then folding it in half and pressing it, so that I've got nice, clean lines to work with. So I've done that with all of them. And I've folded them in half so I know where my centre point is. And I'm just going to pin that, each one, to the lining. And before I go any further with that, I'm going to stay stitch it to the lining. If I'm trying to sew layers of fabric together and it's got to be precise, it's quite nice to know that 2 layers won't shift while you're adjusting the 3rd layer. So I'm just pinning them, the centre of each of those channels. The raw edge to raw edge of the lining. The raw edge to raw edge of the lining. Right sides together. Right sides together. Actually, I'm going to have to take these pins out, which is really annoying. Ignore that thing that I said about slipping the lining inside the outer. Just put the outer to one side a minute. Take your accessory drawer off. And then just stay stitch with a very narrow seam allowance, slightly more than a millimetre. Stay stitch the channels to the lining. So come back in a sec. So that's the final channel sewn, all 4 channels sewn to the bag, and they're sewn so that they lay across the borders. So now is when you can put your outer right sides in and line up those seams that form the sides of the bag. And because we've left that gap in the lining, I can sew right round the top of this bag in one fell swoop. And it will join the tops, it will enclose the channels, and it will just give a much neater finish. And also once you've done that, if you wish, I think I have done it on this one, you can then top stitch that seam. So start anywhere you like on the bag and just stitch all the way round. So I've sewn that all the way round. We're back to the beginning. And if you pop your fingers inside the hole in the lining and grab a corner, you can pull the whole thing the right sides out and get a blunt knitting needle. And you don't need to worry about pushing out the corners of the lining because you're just going to be popping that back in, inside out. But you do want to just gently push out the corners of the outer to make a nice square base to it. And then what you would do before you actually flip the lining in is just hand stitch or top stitch that gap closed, which I'll do later. Push the lining in. Again, square up the corners so it sits in there straight. And then what you can do is you can, as I say, you can top stitch to keep that top of the bag. Oh, go on, let's top stitch it anyway. We'll make it look much neater. Bear with me. Ideally, what I should have done is actually pressed and pinned that seam before I top stitched it to make sure that the lining didn't get rucked up inside, but yeah, I've been quite lucky, so I'm pleased with that. So now your channels stand proud, and then you want to make yourself a couple of strips piping. I've pre-made these. These would have been about 3 centimetres wide by about 55 centimetres long, tucked in the ends to give them a clean closure. And I'm going to knot these ones. And then I folded them right sides together, stitched down the long edge, turn them out and press them. But you can use cord, you can use leather, but what you will need and what you will find very handy is a piping turner that you can thread through 2 channels of the bag, hook it into your drawstring, and then just put it through. Try to keep it as flat as possible, so that it doesn't twist. So there's one. Do the same on the other side, through both channels. And there's 2. And then if you take each end, and for speed, I'm just going to tie a very neat reef knot. So left over right and under, right over left and under. And try and keep them as flat as possible for a neater finish. Do the same with the other side. And then if you then find the other gap between the other two channels, you should be able to pull your drawstrings so that the bows fit in the middle here. And that way the quick joining of the two straps actually makes a feature of the bag. And you can just pull it together as a little drawstring bag. So I think they're quite cute. And actually, as I say, you can hold quite a bit in them. Great for wrapping presents. Great as little girls' diddy bags. And a good alternative to a Christmas stocking this year. Hope you like that. Please subscribe to us if you'd like to see more demonstrations. We've got all kinds of stuff coming up all the time and we'd love you to join us. We'd love you to comment. In the meantime, please keep safe and thank you very much for watching. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.